My gentleness and good behavior had gained so far on the emperor and his court, and indeed upon the army and people in general, that I began to conceive hopes of getting my liberty in a short time. I took all possible methods to cultivate this favorable disposition. The natives came by degrees to be less apprehensive of any danger from me. I would sometimes lie down and let 5 or 6 of them dance on my hand, and at last the boys and girls would venture to come and play hide and seek in my hair. I had now made a good progress in understanding and speaking their language. The emperor had a mind one day to entertain me with several of the county shows, wherein they exceed all nations I have known, both for dexterity and magnificence. I was diverted with none so much as that of the rope dancers, performed upon a slender white thread extended about 2 feet and 12 inches from the ground, upon which I shall desire liberty, with the reader's patience, to enlarge a little. This diversion is only practiced by those persons who are candidates for great employments and high favor at court. They are trained in this art from their youth, and are not always of noble birth or liberal education. When a great office is vacant either by death or disgrace, which often happens, 5 or 6 of those candidates petition the emperor to entertain his majesty and the court with a dance on the rope, and whoever jumps the highest without falling succeeds in this office. Very often, the chief ministers themselves are commanded to show their skill and to convince the emperor that they have not lost their faculty. Flimnap, the treasurer, is allowed to cut a caper on the straight rope, at least an inch higher than any other lord in the whole empire. I have seen him do the somerset several times together upon a trencher fixed on the rope, which is no thicker than a common pack-thread in England. My friend Feldressel, principal secretary for private affairs, is, in my opinion, if I am not partial, the second after the treasurer. The rest of the great offices are much upon a par. These diversions are often attended with fatal accidents, whereof great numbers are on record. I myself have seen 2 or 3 candidates break a limb, but the danger is much greater when the ministers themselves are commanded to show their dexterity, for by contending to excel themselves in their fellows, they strain so far that there is hardly one of them who hath not received a fall, and some of them 2 or 3. I assured that a year or 2 before my arrival, Flimnap, which would have infallibly broke his neck if one of the king's cushions, that had accidentally lay on the ground, had not weakened the force of his fall. There is likewise another diversion, which is only shown before the emperor and empress, and the first minister upon particular occasions. The emperor lays on a table 3 fine silken threads of 6 inches long. One is blue, the other red, and the third green. These threads are proposed as prizes for the persons whom the emperor hath a mind to distinguish by a peculiar mark of his favor. The ceremony is performed in his majesty's great chamber of state, where the candidates are to undergo a trial of dexterity very different from the former, and such as I have not observed the least resemblance of in any other country of the old or new world. The emperor holds a stick in his hand, both ends parallel to the horizon, while the candidates, advancing one by one, sometimes leap over the stick, sometimes creep under it backwards and forwards several times, according as the stick is advanced or depressed. Sometimes the emperor holds one end of the stick, and his first minister the other. Sometimes the minister has it entirely himself. Whoever performs his part with most agility, and holds out the longest in leaping and creeping, is rewarded with the blue-colored silk. The red is given to the next, and the green to the third, which they all wear girt twice around the middle, and you see with fewer great persons about this court who are not adorned with one of these girdles. I had sent so many memorials and petitions for my liberty that his majesty at length mentioned the matter first in the cabinet and then in the full council, where it was opposed by none except Skyrush Bulgum, who was pleased, without any provocation, to be my mortal enemy. But it was carried against him by the whole board and confirmed by the emperor. That minister was Galbet, or admiral of the realm, very much in his master's confidence, and a person well versed in affairs, but of a morose and sour complexion. However, he was at length persuaded to comply, but prevailed that the articles and conditions upon which I should be set free, and to which I must swear, should be drawn up by himself. These articles were brought to me by Skyresh Bulgham in person, attended by 2 undersecretaries and several persons of distinction. After they were read, I was demanded to swear to the performance of them, first in the manner of my own country, and afterwards in the method prescribed by their laws, which was to hold my right foot in my left hand, to place the middle finger of my right hand on the crown of my head, and my thumb on the tip of my right ear, because the reader may perhaps be curious to have some idea of the style and manner of expression peculiar to that people, as well as to know the articles upon which I recovered my liberty, I have made a translation of the whole instrument, word for word, as near as I was able, which I here offer to the public. Golbasto, Mamarin, Evlem, Gordillo, Sheffrin, Moli Oli, Gu, most mighty Emperor of Lilliput, delight and terror of the universe, whose dominions extend 5,000 blustrugs, about 12 miles in circumference, to the extremities of the globe, monarch of all monarchs, taller than the sons of men, whose feet press down to the center, and whose head strikes against the sun, at whose nod the princes of the earth shake their knees, pleasant as the spring, comfortable as the summer, fruitful as autumn, dreadful as winter. His most sublime majesty proposeth to the Man Mountain, lately arrived at our centennial dominions, the following articles, which by a solemn oath he shall be obliged to perform. First, the Man Mountain shall not depart from our dominions without our license under our great seal. Secondly, he shall not presume to come into our metropolis without our express order, at which time the inhabitants shall have 2 hours' warning to keep within their doors. Thirdly, the said Man Mountain shall confine his walks to our principal highroads, and not offer to walk or lie down in a meadow or field of corn. Fourthly, as he walks the said roads, he shall take the utmost care not to trample upon the bodies of any of our loving subjects, their horses or carriages, nor take any of our said subjects into his hands without their consent. Fifthly, if an express require extraordinary dispatch, the Man Mountain shall be obliged to carry in his pocket the messenger and horse a 6 days' journey once in every moon, and return the said messenger back, if so required, safe to our imperial presence. Sixthly, he shall be our ally against our enemies in the island of Bulsgruf, and do his utmost to destroy their fleet, which is now preparing to evade us. Seventhly, that the said Man Mountain shall, at his times of leisure, be aiding and assisting to our workmen in helping to raise certain great stones, towards covering the wall of the principal park and other our royal buildings. Eighthly, that the said Man Mountain shall, in 2 moons' time, deliver an exact survey of the circumference of our dominions by a computation of his own paces round the coast. Lastly, that upon his solemn oath to observe all the above articles, the said Man Mountain shall have a daily allowance of meat and drink sufficient for the support of 1,728 of our subjects, with free access to our royal person and other marks of our favor, given at our palace at Belforbeck, the 12th day of the 91st moon of our reign.